Hi all. Today we'll start the next topic, that is while loop. We are seeing loops in Python. In the last session we have seen for loop. So the next type of loop is while loop. So while loop is very similar to for loop. Like the basic functioning is very similar. It does the same thing what for loop does, but there is only a difference in between the syntax. Okay, so in for loop the syntax is a little bit simpler. In while loop it is a little bit lengthy syntax. So first thing, it is similar to for loop. The functionality is quite similar. It iterates over the sequences. Then next thing, the syntax is different. And what is the basic functionality of while loop? It keeps on executing a block of code repeatedly as far as the condition is true. Okay, so until the condition is true, it will keep on executing the loop, and whenever the condition becomes false, it will exit out of the loop. Okay, and in terms of syntax, what are the basic things that are different as compared to for loop? That are, here the variable must be initialized and it must be incremented. Okay, so that there was no need in for loop for initialization and incrementing. For loop was automatically considering the variable whatever we consider, like I, j. Okay, we consider for I in range or j in range. So that variable I or j what was automatically incremented and there was no need of initialization. Okay, so this is not the case with while loop. In while loop we have to initialize that variable whatever it is, I or j or x or y, and we also need to increment it because while loop does not increment that variable. Okay, so after each iteration we need to increment that variable so that it goes on changing iteration after iteration. Okay, and at one particular iteration that condition will become false and then it will exit out of the loop. Okay, if you don't increment it, then it might go into infinite loop. Okay, infinite loop here in the sense there will be 1000 iterations, so it might go in infinite loop if we don't increment. Okay, so we'll see the basic syntax of while loop. First thing, you have to initialize the variable whatever it is. Let's say I equals to 0. This is the initialization, I equals to 0 or I equals to 1, in this way. Then the while statement, and after that the expression or condition, whichever condition which we are going to put. Okay, so and as far as this condition is true, the while loop will go on executing. The block under while loop will go on executing. Okay, whenever this condition becomes false, then it will exit out of the loop. And inside the while loop, this is the block of code. Okay, let's say we have print statements or we have some expressions, some operations to do inside this while loop, and at the last we should increment the variable. This is compulsory. Okay, this is mandatory. Initialize the variable as well as increment the variable. This is mandatory. Okay, we may increment it at the last or we may increment it at the start of the while loop. Okay, whichever is comfortable. Okay, so this is the syntax. Now let's see an execution of for loop and we will see the same kind of program in while loop. Okay, so in for loop what we did, for I in range 0 to 5. Okay, I was the variable we took and we are executing it for a range 0 to 5. So there will be 5 iterations. Okay, starting from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, 5 will be excluded. Okay, so there will be 5 iterations, and during these iterations what operation we are doing, we are printing hello Python. Okay, so the statement is just print hello Python, and how many iterations? For 5 iterations. Okay, so it will just print hello Python 5 times. Let's execute this program. Here it is. So it is executing, it is printing hello Python 5 times. Okay, for first time I equals to 0, then I equals to 1, then I equals to 2, I equals to 3, I equals to 4. Okay, and whenever I becomes 5, it will execute it will exit out of the loop. Now same program, if we want to write in while loop, how will the program be? First thing, we need to initialize it. Okay, so I equals to 1. This is the initialization. Either we may initialize I equals to 0 or I equals to 1. Okay, so here I have initialized I equals to 1. This is the initialization of variable. After that comes the while statement. Okay, while, and after that the condition. Now what must be the condition? Whatever times you want to execute the loop, your condition must be according to that. Okay, suppose I want to execute this 5 times, my condition must be that I is less than equals to 5. Okay, so we are starting from 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so as far as this condition is true, I is less than equals to 5, this execute this block of code under while loop will be executed. Okay, and as soon as this condition becomes false, while loop will exit. Okay, while loop will uh, end there itself. Okay, and what operation we are doing in the block of code? We are printing hello Python. Okay, same program we are just doing with the help of while loop. Print hello Python, and at last, as I said, we must not forget to increment that variable whichever we have initialized. We have initialized I equals to 1, so we must increment it I equals to I plus 1 or I plus equals to 1. You may use increment and assignment operator. Okay, so let's see execution of this loop, how it will execute. So initially I equals to 1. Okay, first let me execute this and then I'll explain how it works. Okay, so it will execute 5 times. There will be 5 iterations. Okay, and for each iteration it will print hello Python. Now let's see the working of this. So I have initialized I equals to 1. Okay, so for the first iteration, value of I will be 1. Okay, and if we compare this condition, value of I is 1, so this condition becomes 1 less than equals to 5. Okay, so 1 less than equals to 5, it is true. Okay, this condition is true. As it is true, then it will go into the loop. Okay, the condition is true, so it will go into the loop. It will print hello Python, and at last it will increment I. So I was equals to 1, so after incrementing it becomes I equals to I plus 1, so I equals to 1 plus 1, that means it becomes 2. Okay, now again we come towards next iteration. Now value of I is 2. Okay, and this condition becomes 2 less than equals to 5. Now 2 is actually less than 5, so this condition is again true. Okay, so again hello Python will be printed, and again we'll come towards the increment operation. Okay, so I will become 2 plus 1 now. Okay, so 2 plus 1, it will become 3. Okay, then again we'll go towards the next iteration. Okay, I equals to 3. I equals to 3. Okay, so this will become 3 less than equals to 5. Okay, this condition is actually true. Okay, so if condition is true, that means the loop will execute. Okay, it will again print hello Python, and it will again increment. Okay, so for incrementing I equals to 3, so it will become I equals to 3 plus 1, that is 4. Okay, and now for the next iteration, I equals to 4. So 4 is less than equals to 5 will be the condition, which is actually again true. Again it will print hello Python, and at last it will increment. That means I equals to 4 plus 1, which is nothing but 5. Okay, again we'll come towards the next iteration. I will be equals to 5. 5 is again less than equals to 5. Okay, 5 equals to 5. So again it is true, and again we'll print hello Python, and at last increment it. I equals to 5 plus 1, that is 6. Okay, now just pay attention to this iteration. This iteration is very important. I equals to 6. For this iteration, value of I is 6, and your condition becomes 6 less than equals to 5, which is not true, which is false. As soon as this condition becomes false, the while loop is going to exit. Okay, because the condition is false. Okay, and after exiting, it will just come out of the loop. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, so in this way the loop works. Now we'll see this program. In this program, actually we are printing the value of I, the variable I, as far as I is less than 6. As far as the value is less than 6, we are going to print that value as far as it is less than 6. Okay, as soon as it becomes equals to 6, then the loop is going to exit. Now first thing, we need to initialize that value. Okay, we initialized it to 1. Okay, and then the while statement, and then comes the condition. Okay, condition I less than 6. I want to keep running the loop till I becomes 6. Okay, that means I want to keep it running for 5 times. 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, and I want to print the value of I. Okay, so here I have used print I, and at last don't forget to increment the value of I. Okay, so I have used increment and assignment operator plus equals to. So for first iteration, I will be equals to 1, I equals to 1, which is actually 1 less than 6, which is true. It will print I, and then here I will become 2. Again for next iteration, I is 2, 2 is less than 6, which is again true. It will print value of I, and again increment it, that means it will become 3. For next iteration, I will be 3, 3 is less than 6, which is again true. It will print I, and again increment 8, I equals to 4. Again for next iteration, it will become 4, 4 less than 6, which is again true. Again print I, and increment it, it will become 5. Again for next iteration, I is 5, 5 less than 6, which is again true. Again print the value of I, and again increment it, I will become 6. And now when I becomes 6, the 6 less than 6, which is not true. Okay, so this becomes false, and when it is false, it will not go into loop, it will not execute this part, and it will exit the loop. Okay, this is the working. We'll see the output of this program. This is the program. Print I, so it will print 1 first, for second iteration 2, for third iteration 3, for fourth iteration 4, for fifth iteration 5. Okay, so we can also do the same thing using range. Okay, like we did in for loop. Okay, we can also use range for this. Initialize the value of I to 0, use range as 0 to 5. So it will start from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then print I, print the value of I and increment it. Okay, so for first iteration it will be 0, then for next iteration 1, then 2, then 3, then 4 and then 5. When it becomes 5, 5 is excluded. So when it becomes 5, this condition becomes false and it will exit the loop in this way. Okay, let's move forward. We can use while loop over the sequence also. Okay, let's say we have list or tuple or string, we can use while loop on that also. Okay, now for example, I have taken a list here. The list contains 5 values, 1 2 3 4 5, and I want to iterate over this list. Okay, whatever operation I want to perform, I can perform inside that while loop, but I want to iterate it on this list. Okay, and what operation I want to perform, that I have mentioned here. Okay, I want square of each number. Okay, each number in the list. Let's say list contains 1 2 3 4 5, so I want square of that number, square of 1, square of 2, square of 3, square of 4 and square of 5. So first thing what I will do is initialize I equals to 0. Okay, and mention the condition as, now you want to iterate over a list. Okay, so how many iterations will be there? As many iterations as the length of list. Okay, there will be n number of iterations. N is nothing but the length of list. Okay, so as long as the list, there will be that much number of iterations. Let's say we have 5 elements in the list, the length of list is 5, so there will be 5 iterations. Okay, so you have to mention the condition in such a way that I is less than length of list. Okay, we are starting from 0, so again there will be how many iterations? As the length of list. Okay, length of list is 5, so it will start from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, 5 iterations. And next, inside the while loop, my operation is I want square of each element. Okay, so how can we access each element? I can access by using index. Okay, and here this I have used as an index. Okay, so list of I will give me the ith element. Okay, for example, I is 0 for first iteration, it will give me the first element. Okay, and here I have used exponent of 2, that means raised to 2, that means square. Okay, so first element square, for next iteration second element square, third element square, fourth element square, fifth element square. In this way the square of each element will be printed here, and at last I have incremented this. Okay, so first we'll execute this program and then see the working of this loop. We can see here each element, square of each element is being printed. Okay, for example, first element was 1, so square of 1 is 1. Second element of list was 2, so square of 2 is 4. Square of 3 9, square of 4 16, square of 5 25. Okay, let's see the working. I equals to 0, this is my initialization. Okay, so for this condition I equals to 0, my condition is 0 less than length of list. Okay, length of list is 5, so 0 less than 5, which is true. And here I am printing the square of each element. That means my logic is list v of I. So list underscore v of, it will be 0. That means 0th element, which will be square of this square. That means 1 square, which is 1, and increment I. So I will now become 1. Okay. Then next iteration, value of I is 1, 1 less than 5, which is true, and then print list v of 1. That means first index element, which is 2, and 2 square is nothing but 4. Then increment I was 1, so I will become now 2, and we'll go towards next iteration. Value of I is 2, 2 is less than 5, which is true, and print second index element square, and second index element is 3, so 3 square becomes 9, and then again increment I will now become 3. So I is 3, 3 is less than 5, which is true, and third index element square will be printed. At the third index we have 4, so 4 square is nothing but 16, and I will now become 4, and value of I is 4, 4 is less than 5, which is again true, and fourth index element is 5, so 5 square will be 25, and I will now become 5. And now when I becomes 5, your condition becomes 5 less than 5, which is not true, okay, which is false. So this becomes false, and it exits the loop. Okay, as soon as this condition becomes false, it will exit the loop. Okay, this is the working. And now all the concepts of for loop can be applied to while loop as well. Okay, for example, the break statement, we can use the break statement in for loop just to stop all the further iterations. Okay, if you have one condition that is achieved and you don't want to execute the loop further, can use break so that all the further iterations will be stopped there itself. Okay. Now let's see the working of this break statement in while loop. I have taken a program where I want to print the value of I as far as that I is less than 6. Okay, but whenever that value of I becomes 3, my condition should be achieved and it should exit the loop, it should break. That means it will stop all the further iterations. Okay, so I have inserted a condition here, if I equals to 3, then and then go to break. Okay, so when this condition will be true, I equals to 3, then and then it will go into this if statement, this block, and there is a break here, so the iteration will stop here itself when I equals to 3. Okay, there will be no iteration for I equals to 4, no iteration for I equals to 5, and obviously uh, no iteration for 6 also, because this condition here itself will become false if I equals to 6. Okay, so your 1 will be printed. Okay, because we are printing I, so initially I equals to 1, so 1 will be printed, 2 will be printed for next iteration, 3 will be printed for next iteration, but after that I equals to 3, this condition becomes true when I equals to 3. So as soon as this becomes true, this there is a break here. Okay, this will stop all the further iterations. Stop all further iterations. So there will be no iteration for I equals to 4, I equals to 5, and so on. Okay, so only 1, 2, and 3 will be printed. Let's say the output, here it is, 1, 2, 3, only these are printed, and it does not go for I equals to 4, I equals to 5, even if we have condition true here. Okay, just because of this break, it does not check for I equals to 4, does not check for I equals to 5, and so on. Okay, so this is the use of break statement. When you don't want to execute the loop further after achieving one particular condition, you can insert a break there. Okay, you can insert that condition and put a break there, so all the further iterations will be stopped there itself. Let's see one more example of this. Now I have a list that contains some integers and one string. Okay, so integers are this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the string 6, and 7 and 8 are again integers. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to stop the iteration, stop the iterations once string is found. Okay, so I want to stop the iterations once string is found. Okay, till then I will continue the iterations. So this is my list, then goes my initialization I equals to 0, and I put the condition, basic condition, I want to iterate over a list. Okay, so I less than equals to length of L. Okay, remember here I have initialized I equals to 0, that's why I have used less than equals to. If I initialize I equals to 1, then here I have to use I less than. Okay, not less than equals to, then at that condition I want to use I less than. So I less than equals to length of L, so it will iterate, like it will continue the loop till I is less than length of L. What is length of L? It is 8. Okay, so there will be 8 iteration as normal. Okay, but here we have a condition. What is the condition? We are checking the data type of this element. Okay, like each element L of I, that means we are using index I as index, and we are checking the data type of element at each index. Okay, I will be incrementing. So I is basically 0 for first iteration, so L of 0, that means 1, and that's data type. Okay, so data type of 1 is integer. Okay, integer equals to integer, so that is true. Okay, if it is true, then this will be printed. Index is I and data type is type of L of I, that means it's data type. So that index of that element and data type of that element will be printed. Okay, so and if this is not true, then else part will go to else part. Okay, so if that data type is not integer, then and then it will go to else part. Like for this 6, the data type will not be integer. Okay, it will be string, so it will go to the else part in this case. Okay, and what is under else part? We have print statement in which we are mentioning str found. Okay, we are printing string found. Okay, and immediately after that we have inserted break statement. That means there itself the iterations will be stopped, further iterations will be stopped. Okay, it will not check for these elements 7 and 8. Okay, and final incrementing the I. Okay, so it will, this print statement will be executed for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For 6, as it is string, this will be printed string found, and after that there is a break, so it will not check for this 7 and 8. Okay, let's see the output. You can see here. Okay, index is 0 and data type is integer. Index 1 data type integer. Index 2 data type integer. Index 3 data type integer. Index 4 data type integer. And as soon as index is 5, the data type was not integer for index 5. Okay, index 5 ला हा 6 आहे. Okay, so data type is not integer here. So data type was string of 6. So the else part, that means string found, this will be executed, and immediately after that there is a break, so it will not check for the 7 number and 8 number, which are integers. Okay, this is the use of break statement. You can put it where you want to stop further iterations. Okay, one particular condition is achieved, and after that you want to stop further iterations. You don't want to check for following numbers or following elements. You can put a break there. Now let's move towards continue statement. A continue statement basically is similar to break, but only difference is that it will not stop the further iterations, it will just stop the current iteration. Okay, current iteration in the sense whatever is the condition, for that condition the current iteration will stop and further iterations will continue. So that's why it is said as continue statement. Okay, further iterations will be continued as normal. Okay, let's see an example. I want to stop current iteration if the value is 3, value of I is 3, and continue the further iterations. Okay, now if you see here, I have initialized I equals to 0, given a condition I less than 6. That means I want to uh, print I until it is less than 6. Okay, for I equals to 1, I equals to 2, I equals to 3, I equals to 4, I equals to 5. But I have also given a condition here, if I equals to 3, then continue. Okay, don't print it. Okay, so after inserting continue, that iteration will stop when I equals to 3. Okay, I equals to 3 साठी प्रिंटिंग होणार नाही, कारण कंटिन्यू यूज केल्या त्यामुळे ती इटरेशन स्टॉप होईल. Okay, and it will continue for next iteration. That means I equals to 4. Okay, now see here, I have incremented it first and then we are doing further operations, then we are checking whether I equals to 3 and then printing. Okay, so we can either increment first and then do the operations, or we can do the operations first and then increment the value of I. So if you see the execution, I'll execute the program first and then we'll see the details. You can see here 1 is printed, 2 is printed, 3 is not printed. Okay, 4 is printed, 5 is printed, 6 is printed. Okay, 3 is not printed. That means only current iteration, when the I becomes 3, that iteration is stopped. Okay, and following iterations are continued as normal. I equals to 4 is normal, 5 is normal, 6 is normal. Okay, so how it executes, let's see. I equals to 0 initially, and we are checking it here, 0 less than 6, which is true. Incrementing it, just a second, I'll write it down here. So I equals to 0 and 0 less than 6, which is true. Then we're incrementing I here, I becomes 1, and we are checking here 1 equals to 3, which is false, so it will not go to continue, it will directly print. And what will it print? 1. Okay, it will print 1. Then for next iteration, I is 1, 1 less than 6, which is true. Increment I, that means I becomes 2, 2 equals to 3, which is again false, so it will not go to continue, it will directly print 2. Then next iteration, now I is equals to 2, 2 is less than 6, which is again true. Increment it becomes 3, and here now we compare 3 equals to 3, which is actually true, so this will become true, and as this is true, the continue part will be executed. Okay, so it will stop the iteration, stop this iteration. Okay, and it will not go to print also. Okay, as this iteration is stopped. Okay, so it will not be print 3. Okay, it will not print 3. Then for next iteration it will continue. Okay, as we are inserting continue statement, only current iteration will stop and next iteration will continue. So I equals to 3 now, and 3 is less than 6, which is true. Increment, so it becomes 4, 4 equals to 3, which is not true, that means this will be false, it will not go to continue statement. Okay, so let's delete this, and it will print 4. For next iteration I will be 4, 4 less than 6 is again true. Increment it will be 5, 5 equals to 3, which is again false, it will not go to continue, it will directly print 5. It will next iteration I equals to 5, 5 less than 6, which is again true. After incrementing it will become 6, and 6 equals to 3, which is false, so there will be no continue, it will not go to continue, and will print 6. Now value of I is 6, and when it compares 6 less than 6, it will be false, condition becomes false. So as condition becomes false, it will exit out of the loop. Okay, so it will not check for 7 and these things. Okay, this was the working of